Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Future of Work, a webinar organized by Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with LinkedIn, Singapore and Tekmonks Private Limited. Just to share a few house rules, all participants' mics will be muted and videos will be switched off to avoid any technical disruptions. If you have any queries, please type your questions by clicking the Q&A button below on your screen. Kindly take note this webinar session is recorded for archiving and training purposes. This is the program schedule of today's session. So we'll be starting off with Mr. Tushar. He'll be delivering his opening address, followed by Ms. Nas. She will be sharing on current job landscape in Singapore, and then followed by Mr. Dewar. He'll be sharing on future of workspaces and AI, and then followed by that, we'll be having a Q&A session, and then we'll be ending up with the closing remarks by Mr. Johnson Paul. For the opening address, I would like to introduce Mr. Tushar Doshi. He's a board director at Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the independent director at SICCI Limited. Since 1996, Mr. Tushar embarked on his entrepreneurial venture under the name of Tushar International Private Limited. In 2003, Mr. Doshi focused on developing a unique and patented art form called three-dimensional holographic sculptures. Since mid-2016, Mr. Doshi has been an independent director on the board of directors at SICCI Limited, SGX-listed company. He's chairman of the Nomination and Remuneration Committee in the company. Mid-2017, Mr. Doshi became a global independent distributor for an American manufacturer in stem cell lift technology. He's also working in the professional and personal development areas to assist individual and corporate clients to discover and improve their strengths for better success. In October 2019, Mr. Doshi serves as an advisor to Darwin Travel Tech Private Limited. He's also a consultant to iTechGenics Global Private Limited, a Singapore-based big data startup, which is developing an AI-powered project risk and workforce advisor for distributed agile teams. Mr. Tushar, please.
Thanks, Gauri, and a very good afternoon to one and all. Well, I think Gauri set a nice stage and, given me an opportunity to enhance on that a little bit. So, welcome to the Future of Work webinar, organized by the Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, also known as SICCI, in collaboration with LinkedIn Singapore and Tekmonks Private Limited. SICCI is delighted to organize this event. My thanks to our chairman, Dr. T. Chandru, our board of directors, our CEO, Johnson Paul, secretariat staff, and our esteemed speakers. For about 96 years, since 1924, SICCI has served the Singaporean Indian business and the business community at large. SICCI strives to provide members with insights, connections, and services, giving them a competitive edge in the global markets. We offer an array of business support services, including trade matching, business advisory, networking sessions, seminars, and training to serve as a champion of our members' interests. We also aim to provide a gateway of opportunities for Indian businesses and others in Singapore, helping both homegrown and international companies realize their full potential. Through such efforts, we hope to fulfill our promise of building businesses and building communities. Today, our esteemed speakers will focus on the future of workplaces and how emerging work options from contingent labor to AI are being managed by businesses in Singapore. COVID-19 has forced companies to re-examine their positions in society and to re-evaluate options moving forward. According to recruitment agencies, the number of job seekers affected by COVID-19 is growing, as more people are competing for less positions. Reports have also shown that candidates take roughly 25% more time to secure jobs now. With the demand for talent in many industries, with the talent in many affected industries, such as hospitality and travel, to name a few, being low, and the supply of interested applicants exponentially increasing, employers have lots of options and can be more selective. Remote working situation, also known as work from home, or as I refer to it as work from anywhere, have also slowed the hiring processes in companies not adequately equipped to adapt to such conditions. According to economists, the situation is worse for fresh graduates as they are entering a battered labor market amidst the worst unemployment rates seen since 2009. They are faced with the challenge of competing with mid-career professionals for a limited number of positions. Our Singapore government has made commendable efforts to support them through various programs like the SG United traineeships, and tertiary institutions have also intensified their career advisory efforts for graduates as well. As we move forward in an uncertain new norm, one aspect of technology rising to the forefront is artificial intelligence, also known as AI. AI is changing the way we work and how businesses operate at every level. The increasing amount and complexity of data has led to greater use of AI and AI-related functions such as automation in various work processes, chatbots, data analytics, and more. The stage is set for our dynamic speakers. First off, we have Ms. Naz Rahim. She's an account manager for new business acquisition within LinkedIn's Talent and Learning Solutions, partnering with SMEs in Singapore. On top of a primary role, she is also on top of a primary role, she is also one of LinkedIn's Rock Your Profile ambassadors based in Singapore. Ms. Rahim is also an active member of LinkedIn's social impact team, where she runs career coaching sessions for returning mothers, students, retrenched workers, and more. Following Ms. Rahim, we have Mr. Dewar McCambridge, the technology head of Tekmonks Private Limited. Tekmonks delivers systems to manage digital offices to optimize productivity and workflows, including crucial cybersecurity software to ensure information integrity. Mr. McCambridge is a pioneer in AI and has contributed significantly to research and development in the new areas of AI. Mr. Cambridge is also supporting cybersecurity projects for large enterprises like Rakuten and Saxo Bank. I wish everyone a productive webinar and an interactive Q&A session following that. So please join me now in welcoming our first speaker, Ms. Naz Rahim. Ms. Naz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Tushar, for the lovely introduction. I think just to add on to that, as he's mentioned, I am the account manager for LinkedIn's Talent and Learning Solutions team. So essentially what I do is I work together with companies in Singapore for any hiring, learning and development, employee engagement, and employer branding purposes. So I think to put it short, I get paid to work together with companies in Singapore on the employer side of things. On the volunteer side of things, I actually work together with, I would say, job seekers or any LinkedIn members like yourselves to, I guess, leverage LinkedIn for any purpose that you desire, such as networking, rocking your own LinkedIn profile, job seeking, etc. So happy to work together with SICCI for this session today. I will be sharing a few numbers that I've pulled from our data reports. I will just have to share my screen right now. Just bear with me. Okay. And I'm just going to put it to presentation mode. Radha, can you just confirm with me if you're viewing the right screen?
Yeah, I can see a screen. Good to go.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So today for my session, I'll be taking 20 minutes to talk about the talent landscape here in Singapore. And as mentioned, I'll be showing a few statistics and numbers, and I would love to hear what all of you will have to say about what we're going through right now. Believe it or not, we're in December 2020. This year has passed by so quickly, and so much has happened, right, for all of us. So I think it's kind of good right now to take some time to kind of reflect and hopefully look forward to seeing what lies ahead of us using these stats that I'll show you. So firstly, an overview of some numbers of Singapore's presence on LinkedIn. We actually have more than 2 million members based in Singapore on LinkedIn. We have more than 64,000 companies that are based in Singapore on LinkedIn, 32,000 plus skills, and 6,000 schools on LinkedIn based in Singapore. So this is a huge network of, I would say, data points where my insights team at LinkedIn will actually monitor any information that's being shared using these data points. And that's how we monitor trends, and we kind of reflect on these trends and create reports based on these trends to help you, I guess, prepare for the future of work. And globally, 600 plus new data points are created every 2 seconds. So you can have a look at this publicly shared information if you simply Google LinkedIn economic graph, and you'll be able to see, further information on this. So now the golden question. December 20, oh, sorry.
So sorry, Nas. Is it okay if you could put it on full screen? Because I think it's on the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you need to sort the displays? Is this better?
Yes, much better.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I was checking on that before.
No problem.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, great. So this is the correct screen now, right? Okay, thank you. So I always have 2 screens. So I always need to check because sometimes knowing Zoom, it just swaps around for some reason. So thank you for your patience and thank you for letting me know. So yeah, so the first question that I'll ask today is, right now in Singapore, who's hiring? So I think I would like everyone to participate in this. Feel free to put your answers in the chat, and Radha and myself will actually look at the answers that you have come up with.
So you can just type into the Q&A section there, the chat box.
Okay, so Jasmine has it, digital banks, software companies. I think you can go into specifics if you want. So, because I'll be showing you specific companies.
Yeah. Fintech companies. So yeah, like what Nas said, specific companies. A lot of them are mentioning fintech.
There's a lot of fintech being mentioned here. I would love to hear why the sentiment is as such later. AWS, okay. The government, okay, interesting.
IT, AWS, yeah, nice, again, government.
Nice. Okay, all right, we've got a couple of good answers here. Yeah. So I'll actually be separating it between the quarters within this year. So firstly, so January to March 2020, here, this is, as we would know, pre-circuit breaker. And these were the top trending employers pre-circuit breaker. So here you have Shopee, DBS, NCS, Standard Chartered Bank, UOB, OCBC, Apple, NUS, Citi, and Facebook. And now, during this circuit breaker period, we have Shopee, NUS, Singtel came up to the top, followed by DBS, NCS, AWS, so someone was right, UOB, GovTech Singapore, Micron, and Facebook. Okay, last chance. Any guesses for June to August 2020? Now looking at the first 2 set of statistics I've shown you. So, okay, someone said manufacturing. Yeah?
Yeah, manufacturing.
All right, so June to August 2020, we have again NUS, Shopee, very smart, James. SMU came up top, DBS, Singtel, NCS, Micron, NTU, AWS, and UOB. So I hope that was quite interesting to start with. And the next question I'm going to ask is, for COVID-19, what are the impacts COVID-19 had on, I guess, the job or talent landscape? So feel free to just add your thoughts here. I would love to see them.
Yeah. You can drop your answers in the chat box. It's much easier than the Q&A. Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to like drop your answers in the chat box, I think, because I have the chat box open here. So the question was, what were the impacts of COVID-19 on the job or talent landscape in Singapore?
So Sanjay has mentioned 30% job losses. Edward has mentioned use of online working methods, AI, big data, etc. Large-scale layoffs and work from home. Yeah.
So these are all great answers, and I would say they're correct. And I think these are the answers that I came up with as well. So hiring freeze, layoffs, and also shortage of roles. But I would say that I feel that Singapore as an economy, we're quite lucky because Singapore businesses and employees always find a way to work their way around, and our economy does the same way as well. So what we have noticed here at LinkedIn was COVID-19 has fueled internal hires in Asia Pacific. So when you talk about internal hires, you talk about internal mobility and growth. So for example, hiring freeze. Employers couldn't hire anymore. The hiring budget has been cut. And that's what I mean from a professional perspective. That's the kind of sentiment I've heard the first half of the year, or maybe Q2 and Q3 of this year. However, what has increased is the importance of learning and development within the organization and cross-skilling and upskilling employees for the employers. So you can see here, internal mobility rates in Asia Pacific. And you can see Singapore is actually the third out of all the countries here in Asia Pacific. And there are a number of factors which drive the divergence in trends between countries, from generalist roles, which lend themselves to easy transitions. So I would say for Singapore, majority of the workforce are generalists. So I guess that's why in terms of our economy, we're very lucky. We could be upskilled, we could be cross-skilled, and of course, the digital savviness of our nation as well. Plus more specialist roles as such as, all the IT specialists in India or manufacturing specialists in China, for instance, because it is less of a generalist role. There is, I guess, is a lower rate of internal mobility. And zooming into this, so LinkedIn observed the following attributes are likely to have a higher internal mobility rate in Asia Pacific based on this year's data. So here we have, in terms of the top right-hand corner, you can see there under functions. So product management, 26%, finance, 23%, consulting, 23% as well. So these are the top functions that perform 1.3 times better than the global internal mobility rate. And moving down to industries, we're looking at consumer goods with an internal mobility of 24%, energy and mining, 24%, and manufacturing, 22%. So these are the top performing industries that average 1.3 times better globally. And for countries, something to be proud of here. So Indonesia, 24%, New Zealand, 22%, and Singapore, 21%. And within Singapore, these are the functions with the highest internal mobility rates. So with product management, a whopping 30%, and purchasing, 25%. Now, another thing that we've noticed that has risen with the pandemic period within Singapore is entrepreneurship. So as digitalization, rising global incomes, and human capital create new opportunities for entrepreneurship, cities need a new playbook for investing in their local entrepreneurial communities. So you can see here on the left-hand side, I pulled this data from our insights report with the title search of co-founder, founder, and entrepreneur. We have 24,730 professionals on LinkedIn in Singapore. And that's a 5% increase year on year. And you can see here on the right-hand side, these are all the industries where these rising entrepreneurs are. So IT and S, not surprising, being the top one, followed by marketing and advertising, internet, financial services. So I think all the answers about fintech actually came up earlier, so that's quite true. Education, management, so edutech is another industry that's trending recently. Management consultant, health, wellness, and fitness. There's definitely a huge increase in the number of digital, wellness and personal training as well. Computer software, higher education, and lastly, F&B. And the next slide, I'll actually show you the recent graduates who now have the title of founder, co-founder, entrepreneur. So, and these are where they have graduated from. So NUS being the top, followed by NTU, SMU, Singapore Poly, Ngee Poly, Temasek Poly, INSEAD, Republic Poly, Nanyang Poly, and LaSalle College of Arts. And you know what? Again, now we're in this December 2020, we're all, I guess, kind of anxious for 2021. But from the statistics that we have here at LinkedIn, it does so far seem that there will be better days to come for Singapore and for Asia Pacific. So hiring is kind of stabilizing and gradually recovering in major economies. We observe signs of LinkedIn hiring rate recovering or stabilizing across all 7 markets that we study. And this indicates the number of confirmed hires has been recovering steadily. So you can see here, Singapore is the big fat red line there, and you can see that there's a spike between, I think in June, and also one in August as well. So if you look at this spike, it's exactly when all the grants were given, like SG United traineeships and mid-career sponsorship grants were given to companies. So I think we are very lucky indeed. We do have all these grants, and employers are encouraged to keep their community growing and to continuously hire great talent. And here's some insight into some of the most in-demand roles, as well as the roles in rising demand. So you can see here software engineer, managing director, full stack engineer, DevOps engineer, and vice president are most in demand. So no surprise, senior management and technical roles. And roles in rising demand will be engineer, software developer, lawyer, product manager, and IT engineer. What we have also found is that since, all, as you've mentioned, the layoffs, the hiring freeze, it's actually pushed certain industries, job seekers to look outside the current industry. So you can see that October 2019 versus October 2020, this is the rate of job seekers that are looking outside the current industry. So these are people with previous experience in construction, recreation and travel, public administration, energy and mining, consumer goods, software IT, transport and logistics, entertainment, education, hardware and networking. So compared to pre-COVID, we see that job seekers in these industries that were badly hit, such as construction and recreation and travel, are more likely to apply to jobs outside of the current industry. And interestingly, we also see increased applications out of the public administration sector, which is traditionally a safe haven during economic uncertainty. So this may reflect a positive turn in local sentiment about the job market. When we look closer at the recreation sector, we also see that the most common successful transitions out of this sector are into the software and IT, consumer goods, and corporate services sectors. So professionals may continue to consider new or different job opportunities, even as the economy continues to recover. And I guess for the audience for this webinar will be a mix of employers and also, I guess, job seekers and LinkedIn members. So I always have this hashtag, hashtag always be learning. So do spread the good word. LinkedIn has just launched a new tool to help job seekers identify new career paths that have the most skills overlapping with their current role. So to find out more, that we have launched this new Career Explorer. And if you're an employer yourself, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to guide you through with your, I guess, your company branding and some advice on how to hire using LinkedIn or how to develop your team using LinkedIn. And to wrap things up, for more Singapore talent landscape updates, my team at LinkedIn Singapore has actually created a podcast channel called Talent Insider. So the first and second episodes are now live, and it's available on Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, and Pocket Casts. So Radha, if you could kindly spread these links as well, that would be great.
Sure.
And that's pretty much it for me. So it was, I hope it was an insightful session, and look forward to hearing your questions towards the end.
Thanks, Naz. I think it's very informative. Lots of interesting insights, tidbits. I love the new hashtag, always be learning. I think that's so relevant, and in keeping in line with what we're all doing. Interesting things about, from an employer perspective and from an employee job seeker perspective as well. Yes, definitely. I think the Talent Insider, product and services that you're putting together will be very informative. You talked a lot about technology, and I think, the future of work, future of workplace is something that, both sides of the coins need to look at. So, that's a perfect segue in me inviting Mr. McCambridge, Dewar McCambridge from Tekmonks, and he can share with us a little bit more about the technology side of how things could shape up in the future. So over to you, Mr. McCambridge.
Thank you, Mr. Tushar. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today. It's great to see everyone present. Really cool. So my name is, Dewar McCambridge, and I work for Tekmonks. We are an IT company that specializes in AI and cybersecurity. So my passion and work in those fields has involved me in educating and helping organizations and businesses incorporate powerful tools in order to digitally transform. This keeps themselves safe, increases their profitability, sustainability, and efficiency. So today I'm going to be touching on the importance of digitally transforming through the example of a working from home solution, which leverages powerful tools such as artificial intelligence. This particular example is very crucial. As of now, I guess everyone's aware, coronavirus has kind of forced many businesses to employ a work from home model. But unfortunately, a lot of these models don't exactly account for how to successfully digitally transform. So before I move on to digitally transforming itself, I'm just going to touch briefly on the concept of AI, artificial intelligence. So Cambridge Dictionary defines it as the study of how to produce machines that have some of the characteristics of a human mind, such as being able to recognize photos, learn, understand language, and most important for businesses, solve problems. So of course, whilst the term AI is a very common buzzword, there's a lot of actually individual areas of interest: machine learning, belief, desire, intention models, entropy, and natural language processing. I cannot, of course, cover everything in so much detail, otherwise we'll be here forever. So I would instead just like to share how far AI has actually come. So the power of AI in 2020, as some of you may be aware, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a good example of the power is DeepMind, so the company that owns Google, actually cracked a 50-year-old science problem to do with folding of protein. This was an amazing breakthrough, as it has led us to better understand diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and even cancer. So AI is in a really good place right now. Of course, I'm not expecting everyone to have, DeepMind, that kind of computational power. But I also want to point out that now today we're living in a world where you kind of do have the power that you can easily leverage AI. It's actually everywhere. So for an example, it's probably in your pocket or on your desk right now. Siri on your iPhone. A really other good example is just when I'm writing emails, there's some AI agent that can help me formulate the email better, correct my grammar, and even sometimes copy my speeching patterns at the greetings. So fundamentally, my point is that AI is a really powerful tool that has now become extremely accessible due to the kind of increase of computational power. So this accessibility is crucial as it can now enable digital transformation in various aspects, and organizations that fail to leverage these new age tools and actually digitally transform, unfortunately, in my opinion, in the next few years will actually become obsolete. So now on to digital transformation. What is digital transformation? Simply put, it's just leveraging technology, such as AI, like I just explained, to increase an organization or business's digital presence. It also reduces costs or just increases productivity. So I think it's very important to also notify the pitfalls of digital transformation, because I believe a lot of people are already aware and they're, everything is becoming digitalized. But something I also want to point out today is to be really careful, because IT costs can get really high due to the length of time it takes to integrate certain things. So a very common pitfall is people are starting to buy, okay, yeah, this is the best product, but then they're kind of left with a situation where now they have to integrate many different products. So one thing I want to point out is that digital transformation is not always about the best product, but it's more about the best fit, or at least future presence. I think it's best to describe digital transformation just through an example. So for this example, I'm going to be using the story behind what we at Tekmonks have aimed to digitally transform, the office workplace. So actually, interestingly, this project started a couple of months before, the world was thrown into this crazy situation due to coronavirus, which actually further supports why it's so important to be thinking about digital transformation, as when this, no one could predict what would have happened, but 2020 was, everyone was just thrown into working from home models. This client actually already had a fully realized digital office. So the story is that we were approached by this client in Japan who pretty much voiced concerns about Japan's reputation of having natural disasters. And he was thinking, well, what if, suddenly next week there's an earthquake and it damages all the train lines, or my office is destroyed? How am I going to survive? What am I going to do? So we at Tekmonks took this kind of issue or concern, and again, instead of just going for the straight digital transformation, oh, let's get a VPN, we really started to think, well, that's saturating the market, and also we need to think about the underlying bedrocks of an office lifestyle, because in order to successfully digitally transform, you need to kind of make sure you're carrying over the predefined success. You kind of can't just replace that, otherwise it will just become a mess. Another key point is we needed to promote scalability. So we're delivering a big product to a large enterprise, but we also want to make sure that it can help other people get their foot in the door. So even if you have a company of just 5 people, this product would still work for you, because we fully believe that the correct way of digitally transforming is the best fitting for your current need, and also offering scalability. So we started to work with some psychologists and doing extensive research on the importance of the office environment and kind of concerns behind working home. Why are people concerned with working home? Or why is the office in the first place so successful? And we actually boiled it down to 3 key concepts, which are the bedrocks of business operation, which is accountability, connectivity, and communication. So instead of just blah, 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 I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to actually just show you our product. And here I'll be able to kind of explain the 3 concepts and how they kind of work together to create a digital transformation. So let me just share my screen. Desktop is okay. Okay, can you see my screen? Mr. Tushar, could you? Okay, cool. So here you're instantly greeted with what we call, yes, the digital office. And first I'm going to talk about the accountability. So over here in my teams up top, this is where we bring the accountability back, because a key issue of people starting to work from home we found was suddenly you have 0 accountability. You go home and you log on, and yes, it's similar to a lot of other software. Yet I can see if someone's working, but I actually have no idea. Have they just logged on and left their computer? Or have they logged on and they're just looking at Twitter? So you kind of lose a big sense of accountability, and you can read it now. There's a lot of reports about a lot of productivity being lost when people have switched to working from home kind of solutions. And we really think it's because of the lack of accountability. So on the flip side, employers are starting to think, well, okay, let's just leave the microphones on, or let's say you have to have your web camera on, which again is a really not good way, and it's a kind of privacy concern. So that's where we thought, oh, it's perfect to leverage artificial intelligence and kind of elevate this. So here we incorporated an AI agent that actually monitors your keyboard and your mouse input and how you're using them. It also monitors which applications are you using, how are you using them, are they work related? It monitors what websites are you visiting, are they work related, how are you interacting with them? But the key thing here is that it does not keep track of anything that's not work related. So if I was, taking a break and going on Facebook, no one needs to know that. However, it is reflected in your Mind team as your status is on break. So that really brings back the accountability, as people can now feel, okay, I'm definitely working because the AI is literally claiming I'm working. And also it's really good for the employees, because you can kind of feel a bit more security at working from home. You don't feel like, well, now my work's not being accounted for. So there's some concerns of like, I don't know if people think I'm working hard. Well, now you've got a way to prove it. And even at the end of the year, maybe you're going to talk to your boss. Hey, look, I've been working really hard, just like a real office. It's quite obvious I've been working hard. Maybe we can discuss like a salary increase and something like that. So another really key component of, the office and how you can digitally transform is obviously communication. So just like a real office, I need to lean over to my coworker and say, hey, can you meet me in room 1? I just want to quickly talk about this project. I don't want to have to, sit through emails or have to really formulate my thoughts and write it. I just wanted to quickly talk about it. Like that was also a big cost of productivity loss. So what we included is over here, Telemeet. And that is our hosted pretty much internal web conferencing tool, exactly what we're using right now on Zoom. So I can type in room 1 and then chat my coworker. Hi, Rohit, meet me in room 1. And then join room, and straight away I've already joined a conferencing solution. Much like a real office, you have meetings. You can just quickly join in the meeting room and collaborate. We also have whiteboard functionality for easy collaboration, where you can kind of express what you're trying to get across. Team files, of course, everyone needs to be able to share files easily. It's all in one place, very simple. Much like a real office, our kind of goal is to keep the success of everything together in one package. Finally, I'm going to quickly talk about connectivity. Of course, this is one of the biggest concerns for working from home, because you need to access your office network. You already have everything set up. You need to get to your servers, you need to get to your internal apps or whatever. And that kind of links back to one of my key issues about people rushing into digital transformation without really thinking things through, or the kind of future implications, as a lot of people now are adopting VPN solutions. And that is, you can look it up. There's a lot of cases this year of people getting hacked due to VPN. Because essentially, the fundamental thing there is, if you adopt something like a VPN, you're opening up your office to the public. And in cybersecurity, rule number 1 is essentially anything that is exposed can be hacked. So you're actually putting your business at risk. You can see it even last Thursday. FireEye, one of the biggest cybersecurity companies, got hacked. So of course, that was a really big area of concern that also took a lot of research. And we at Tekmonks actually implemented our own patented reflection technology. Now, I'm not going to get into too much of the nitty gritty, otherwise, again, we would be here forever. But essentially, we've provided a way to get remote connectivity to your internal desktops, internal servers, internal web applications, all without having to expose your office to the public. So essentially, it's completely isolated and therefore unhackable. So today I just wanted to wrap up by, that's my kind of definition of digitally transforming. It's leveraging these kind of tools, taking things steps further, while also accounting for scalability, future planning. One more topic that's quite interesting as well. I don't really have much time, But a key concept, if I could give some advice, would also be to look into virtualization. We have that here too, where we can provide, access to virtual desktops. And I think along with artificial intelligence, it's a really important tool to start look into, because now it's no longer something where, massive scale enterprises can only afford. It's actually very accessible, and it can save up to like literal millions of dollars. So that was my last little bit of tidbit of advice there. So that's everything I have today. I guess the next section is Q&A. So of course, yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Okay, thank you.
Sure, thanks, Mr. McCambridge. I think, very interesting. We get to hear both sides of this particular topic about the future of work. You touched upon very interesting things on the technology and AI. And I think particularly what resonates with me personally is your statement of, it's not about the best product, but about the best fit in our own eco-space, right? So I think that was very interesting. Very good solutions from an employer perspective in terms of scalability of towards the SME and the larger enterprises.
Yeah, definitely.
Good tools for employers, and your solution also talks about the employee side of things, right? Because that's a real genuine concern, right? It's, whether is my work being accounted for? As an employee, I need to communicate with my colleagues to be more productive, and I need that connectivity in a safe and secure manner. So I think it's very interesting and very real situations that your company Tekmonks is addressing. And very timely, and I'm glad that we from the chamber side are able to facilitate some of this information flow. Radha,
Sure.
over to you for taking on the Q&A, and we'll be here to support as well.
Sure. So there was a question that Mr. Sanjay Desai, he had asked Ms. Nas. So are these data for jobs published via LinkedIn platform only, or do they also include ally members who updated their status with new jobs? So Nas had already responded, but Nas, do you have anything to add on to this?
Yes, I'm happy to add on a bit. So we just wanted to quickly respond to Sanjay there. But basically, all the numbers that I showed so far are based on the billions of data points that we have on LinkedIn. So if you can imagine, every time a member updates their profiles, every time someone interacts with a piece of content or likes something or shares something, that's like a trend that's created. And every time an employer starts posting jobs or even uses the keyword hiring, so they need not post jobs on LinkedIn, even though I would love for them to post jobs on LinkedIn, but even if they indicate saying we're hiring or we're growing, things like that, these are all words that our insights team actually take note of. And we use these as data points to formulate all these reports.
Okay, thanks, Nas. So next question, there is a question for Tekmonks, actually, for Dewar. So Ravish had already asked, is interface and communication, is it an interface or a communication tool? Does it save any data in your server? So Dewar, would you want to add on to this question?
Yeah. So depending on what you mean by saving any data, no, it wouldn't. Of course, there will be data of user accounts and stuff. But if you're talking strictly about the artificial intelligence, there's nothing to do with data saved. There is an admin side to it where you do have records, so you can keep track of like what's going on. So admins can see, okay, who's opening which app, when are they opening the app, where are they, to make sure that they're in the right country. There's also a lot of like other things like that, and we have something called trust zones, but I'd probably get too much into it. Additionally, you can also see, I think I saw a different question, but it's related to this. We also do have stored like how often do you go on break. The main thing is we do keep track of that kind of stuff. We just don't keep track of anything personal. So if it's to do with like, Dewar was on Facebook, that's not stored anyway. It would just be Dewar went on break at this time.
All right. Thank you, Dewar. So Nas already answered as well in the chat box, Q&A section actually. So do you provide any career coaching services to job seekers? So Nas, what do you want to share? Yeah.
Okay, so I think as Mr. Tushar mentioned earlier, I am an active member of the LinkedIn social impact team. So we actually call ourselves LinkedIn coaches. So through the LinkedIn coaches program, we actually collaborate together with like several government or nonprofit agencies. On a personal level though, I would say feel free to reach out to any LinkedIn employee. I think all of us, I would say majority of us are more than happy to guide you in terms of advising what should be on your LinkedIn profile. And if anything, feel free to add myself on LinkedIn. I've actually put my link to my profile there. So I think if everyone has access to the Q&A answered section, there is my LinkedIn profile there. Or you can just search my name, Nas Rahim. I think I'll be the first name that pops up there.
Okay, thanks, Nas. So Mr. Sanjay has a question for Mr. Dewar. Talking about technology, how far is industry in general is from blockchain technology? And we have been hearing since last 5 years, but it's still at nascent stage. So yeah, Dewar.
Yeah, I agree. So that was kind of what I was getting at. I didn't have much time, but what I was essentially saying is, of course, AI is actually quite like a far range. Of course, there are some things that take like crazy computational power, but the main thing is that now we're in a kind of stage where we have enough power to have like AI more accessible. Of course, there will always be something that's like, you know, in the future, but I think we are definitely quite close as the computational power is just getting so much better. But essentially, it's kind of like you can access AI technology now, but it will still keep improving because as long as the computers keep getting better, we can always run more complicated algorithms.
Thank you, Dewar. Okay, so there's a question again for Tekmonks. So regarding accountability, does the percentage of working and on break get captured in the Tekmonks system? I think you've answered this already. Yeah,
that does get captured, but the main thing is, so we tried to make sure there's no kind of invasion of privacy. We wanted to get the best of both worlds where the employees can feel like safe or they don't feel like they're being monitored at home. However, the employers also feel safe knowing I can still understand or I can still gather information if my employee is actually working. So they will only have, they will have percentage of working and on break and then even offline. So you can keep track of that stuff, but no kind of personal related information.
Okay, thanks. So there's another question. If I'm working on engineering projects, does the system intelligently help me fill up the timesheets?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If I'm working on engineering projects, does the system intelligently help me fill up the timesheets?
If that's a kind of, is this related to teleworker, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So that's not really directly in teleworker, but teleworker's kind of like whole beauty of it is that it can incorporate any other tools with it. So if you're already using some kind of tool that has that sort of functionality, it's very, very easy to incorporate that with teleworker itself. Additionally, if it was a really big requirement, that could be something that could be added later because we already have the AI client involved, so it would just kind of be further updates.
So Nas, a quick question for you. So how are you, what are you foreseeing the current, the job landscape to be within the next 3 to 6 months? Is there going to be any much difference from the data that you had shared with us? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I can't tell the future, essentially like, I mean, personally, from my experience every day talking to my clients who are employers in Singapore, I would say that it's quite different because Q4 generally is a period where there's a lot of budgeting for the following year. So a lot of, I guess, HR teams will start, getting their HR budget with us, and they tell us, okay, we're looking to expand, say, 20 people 100 people next year. However, I think the sentiment now is that everyone's being rather conservative. And I'm talking even on the scale of MNCs. They're also being quite conservative with their forecast next year. Because we never know what could happen. A vaccine isn't properly ready yet. But I would say that I think Singaporean companies seem to be adapting to the situation rather quickly. And I think the companies here, the people here, we're quite an agile nation. So I do think it is getting better, but it is a slow recovery. Yeah, that's just my personal thought.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Nas. Mr. Tushar, do you have anything to add on to? Yeah.
Actually, I didn't, but I just heard something that I think would chime in really nicely to the future of the workforce conversation that we're having, and that's just something that you brought up, right? With companies large and small, having a lot of budget constraints, and with teams being more in play, right? Especially agile solution project management teams. Do you have any comments? Do you see if the probably the medium to large enterprises, are they working towards the agile methodology? Are there more distributed teams working from anywhere? And less people getting together, and still maintaining productivity. So that's from the from your side of things. If you could just have a quick 20-second, 30-second comment on that, please.
Yeah, definitely. So I think another area which I've seen an increment in would be the number of remote roles that's being published or being promoted on LinkedIn. So I think previously there are certain job websites online where it's just for remote workers, but I think it's becoming increasingly common to have remote jobs on LinkedIn. And I think also because, for example, I was just talking to a client earlier today, and they want to hire tech talent. Hiring tech talent in Singapore is extremely challenging, and even more so with the kind of travel restrictions, because say they can actually sponsor an EP, but the person can't even travel to Singapore. So that could be, it's quite difficult for them to hire overseas talent right now. So I think remote working is slowly becoming a norm as well. So I think that could be some of the ways that I think SMEs and kind of mid-sized companies are trying to be agile in that respect.
Good. Thank you. Dewar, I was gonna ask you that same question, but I think in the interest of time, maybe with the introduction of your company, the interested people can actually reach out to you independently.
Yes,
but yeah, because this question actually has relevance to both Tekmonks and LinkedIn. So if you've got just a quick 30-second, and then we'll pass it back on to Radha.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, what was?
So the question here is, how does Tekmonks support companies that are looking to better empower their internal teams, especially in this agile methodology that's coming into play more and more as we have more distributed teams working with disparate tools as well.
Yeah.
And yours is from an AI tech perspective. Just a quick 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, so what we do here is, again, like the kind of beauty of our products, we always don't want to just throw away certain things. We want to make sure it provides the best fit. So if you were kind of concerned, well, we've already been trained using these tools, how can we like level up to this tool instead? Instead, what we kind of offer is a way to like leverage all of the tools in one package. So any kind of question usually can be answered with some of our software because it can be leveraged through our software and like skilled up that way. So if you have, for example, if I'm using just a simple spreadsheet, even if you leverage that through Teleworker, you now have like the AI component saying, okay, this person's working, I can tell this person's working. You also have, like from your employer standpoint, like, okay, I know that my employee is actually working. I know that he's using this app at this time and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Radha.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Tushar. So I'll be passing over to Mr. Johnson. He'll be ending off with the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Radha and Tushar. It's now my pleasant duty to propose a vote of thanks. On behalf of SICCI, I wish to express our sincere gratitude to Chandru, Chairman of SICCI, who sends his greetings, though he's unable to join us for this session. Mr. Tushar Doshi, who has eloquently managed this and curated this session. And our very eminent speakers, Ms. Nas Rahim from LinkedIn and Mr. Dewar and Mr. Moses from Tekmonks. I also wish to thank the Board of Directors of SICCI who are present at this session. I believe Mr. Kishore and Mr. Dr. Zaba Ali is here. So with that, my special thanks also to Lawrence Peck from SMF, Brendan Lim from KPMG, Dr. Baraprasad, BG Sarwajit Singh, Brema and Bhavani, and many of you who have joined us. So have a blessed week ahead, and till we connect again, I wish you a good day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
So now we are at the end of the session. So yeah, thanks everyone. And if any queries, please drop me at radha@sicci.com, SICCI.com. If any queries you have. And also the webinar would be up on our SICCI YouTube page as well. The recording will be up. Yeah, thank you so much.